humorous and ironic is that at least in the days to come in New York, New Territories East, you're going to see on long hair's right side you have Anson Chan, long hair's left side you have Martin Lee, both people campaigning for long hair. This is something which is really quite a funny scene.
That is an interesting point. Yeah, that would be good to see.
Like you have the elitist Martin Lee on one hand, and you do have the one in the administration for such a long time. Supporting from someone always attacking the administration. I mean, this is something going to be very interesting.
And how it's playing out is that we've got three LSD, all three LSD members are going to resign, and two of the Civic Party. And originally, apparently, it was suggested that it would be split according to the numbers of legislators, the ratio in the Legislative Council. So originally, it was going to be suggested that two members from the Democratic Party, one from LSD, one from the Civic Party, and one from the sort of the Independents, I think. And you can see immediately when that was suggested, you can see in some ways why the Democratic Party immediately would have been resistant to agree to it, because obviously they would be thinking potentially we could lose two of our legislators.
But since you mentioned that, Matt, maybe LSD might not need to send out all three. Since you mentioned a bit about the independents, there are a bunch of independents, like Sid Ho and Lee Cheuk-Yan.
I don't know if any of them are willing to put their seat forward. Or not, not that I've heard about.
Still have to see.
It's possible, but the impression I had that it was going to be the LSD legislators who were the guys who were going to be sticking their neck out and putting themselves on the line, and potentially, that's for the whole of it, all of the LSD legislators.
I think everybody should respect to LSD because we are willing to sacrifice ourselves. It could be a total loss. I mean mathematically. Somehow if Hong Kong people are turning like very neutral after 2008, you can never predict that the percentage of votes in total. If there's only like 20% of voting, and the pro-government and the China Communist side, and they 100% come out for the vote, and could be total loss. For free seats. So we should encourage people come out and promote, and especially has to emphasize that the Hong Kong people should get use of their votes. It's very important.
Because it looks like that the League and the Civic Party are starting to have quite a few joint meetings together to try to mobilise, because they realise, exactly it's going to take quite a bit of mobilisation, I think, and they're talking of getting quite a few volunteers together to try to do so, and so on. But obviously it's good news that this whole issue has got a hell of a lot of coverage in the media, in the newspapers in the past couple of months, and really put the spotlight on. And in some ways, in terms of strategy, that shows that has been quite effective. Okay, it's controversial, but the democratic groups have got to be willing to be a bit controversial, is what I would kind of argue. And in terms of an effective protest, it is quite a good one, actually. And you can see, in a funny way, it can build up. Actually, it can become a bit like a snowball, I would say. We'll have to see what happens, because obviously next month it looks like they're planning to resign. I think next month, aren't they? That's a real fact, and that will be, in terms of a political statement, quite a strong one.
Yeah, and another challenge ahead would be that in what ways can we really educate the public or send out a message to the public that this is really a de facto referendum, not a by-election, and this would be quite tricky, and how to do it would be put on the table for discussion. And one suggestion was that, which is going on in the op-ed pages lately in the newspaper, is that whether the five candidates, should run in the by-election, without bringing the label from their party, which means that they should they join an ad hoc party, let's say called the Universal Suffrage Party, in a sense that, so to send a message to the public that it is nothing partisan, it is about a referendum. So they're saying that perhaps this party would only exist until after the election. So whether the 5 candidates should join this or with all other people support and campaigning, donating money to this ad hoc group called Universal Suffrage Party, it's quite a good idea for discussion. I mean, in order to think about ways to strengthen the message that this is a referendum, not a by-election. Because as you know, it is very easy for the media to twist the message, or for the media to report it the way they like. But if you really call yourself from a Universal Suffrage Party, no one can really twist your meaning.
Yeah, that's an interesting idea. I hadn't heard that they were talking about that. But you're right. You know, then the media would have to report the Universal Suffrage Party, you see, and every time they mention, you know, what the situation, and constantly people would be reminded about that particular issue, and it's kind of it could be quite a clever way to sort of promote the issue, actually.
That's even more radical suggestion, though, Matt. You're a radical guy, so I don't know if you like the radical idea, which is that they are trying to get the 5 candidates to, it's so easy in Hong Kong that you can change your name officially. So they're asking Yuk Man Wong to change the name to Universal Suffrage Wong, Wang Po Xun in Chinese, or Long Hair to change the name to Universal Suffrage Leung, and Universal Suffrage Chan for Tanya Chan, so that on the ballot you will see the word Universal Suffrage there.
I hadn't heard about that. I wish I could read the Chinese newspapers. Yeah, all sorts of stuff, all sorts of ideas and gossip thrown around, actually. And poor on me, I only can read the boring old. Well, I won't mention it by name, but the more conservative newspapers.
Some people are very creative here. Some people, like there's a guy in RTHK on air even mentioned that he's quite creative. Mentioned that he can even be long hair if he's radical enough. He can also change his surname as well to support 支持 as his surname, which means that support universal suffrage. Which means that every time when Jasper sang, the Speaker of the Legislature have to really drive long hair out. He will say, Mr. Support Universal Suffrage. You have to leave the Legislature.
Well, I'd like to put that to long hair and see what you would say, actually. Anyway, we've run out of time for the first half, and we've got to move on. We'll be back in a minute for part 2. Thanks.